Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you a retro review plus on-feet video of the Nike Tiempo Legend 3 Elites. Now when you say Legend Elite, a lot of people picture this shoe right here, which is the Legend 4 Elite. It is, in my opinion, one of the most interesting shoes Nike has ever put out. Features a kangaroo leather upper with flywire through the midfoot, a carbon fiber sole plate, and just a very sleek, modern, simple design that, in my opinion, makes this one of the best looking shoes of all time. But this wasn't actually the first Tiempo Legend Elite that Nike ever put out. The first one they put out was this guy right here, the Nike Tiempo Legend 3 Elite. Now just a little bit of backstory before we get into the video. The Legend 3, the regular version, originally came out in 2009, but when the 2010 World Cup came around, Nike launched their Elite series, giving us an Elite version of the Nike Tiempo Legend 3, the Maestri 1 at the time, the Laser 3 at the time, and the Superfly 2 at the time, which was technically the Elite model in the Mercurial lineup. All of these shoes featured carbon fiber sole plates and were in some ways very different or quite similar to their standard models. In the form of the Nike Tiempo Legend 3 versus the Legend 3 Elite, there are actually some pretty significant differences that I don't think everybody knows about, and we're going to talk about all those differences and what this shoe represents in today's video. So if you're interested in that, please stick around. If you guys enjoy the retro review series on my channel, be sure to support this video with a like. It takes a lot of time to hunt some of these older models down, and they can be expensive as well. So again, supporting the video with a like will not only help me out, but it also let me know that you guys want to see more of these, and I will get more retro reviews up on a more consistent basis because I know a lot of you guys like this series. So with that being said, let's get right into the review. Out of the entire Elite series, I think it was fair to say that at the time, the Nike Tiempo Legend 3 Elite was the least popular of the bunch. The Superfly 2 was around, which probably was the most desirable of all of them. You had the Maestri line, which is still relatively new, and then of course it introduced the carbon fiber sole plate and the more laser-esque stud pattern. And then of course, the Laser 3 Elite was a significantly lighter version of the standard Laser 3 with a carbon fiber sole plate. So it of course was a very attractive option as well. With the Tiempo Legend line, I don't think that the Legend 3 was the most popular of the bunch. Yes, it was a very good shoe, but it certainly didn't catch fire as far as popularity is concerned. Nowhere near as popular, I would say, as what we saw from the Legend 4 and of course the latest Legend 5, which in my opinion has been the most popular of the bunch. But actually this is probably the most interesting of the entire Elite series because there's a very, very significant difference between the standard Legend 3 and the Legend 3 Elite variation that I have right here. Now as far as the visuals of the shoe are concerned, this particular colorway is not the first one, obviously. The version that was featured in the World Cup, this is a colorway that was launched after the fact. It features an all burgundy upper, which I think looks absolutely fantastic. Really big fan of this colorway. And then of course, silver detailing all over the shoe in the form of the lateral and medial Nike swoosh, this little V design on the back, your Nike branding right there, the big flap tongue. This is actually the last Legend model to feature a fold over flap tongue held down by Velcro. I know a lot of people don't like how it feels, and I would be on board with those people as well, but I just really like how that flap tongue looks. That's at least my opinion. I kind of wish they would bring it back. Maybe on the Legend 6 we'll see it, but I highly doubt it. And again, just visually on the outside, at least if you're looking at the upper, other than this little element right there, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the video, it looks very much like a Tiempo Legend 3, a standard version. It's not until you lift your foot up and you see the carbon fiber sole plate on the bottom that you know that this is, of course, the Elite model. It featured more or less the exact same stud pattern. I suppose it's a little bit different just in terms of how it's constructed, but of course you had a carbon fiber sole plate instead of a TPU plastic sole plate, which performed a little bit better. It certainly was a little bit stiffer. At the end of the day, it is preference. I wouldn't say that this is necessarily heads and tails better performance-wise versus a standard TPU plastic sole plate, but as far as being lighter, it certainly is that, and having that visual impact that a plastic sole plate just doesn't have. The carbon fiber one definitely was the more popular version to have, at least. So, what made the Legend 3 Elite different from the standard Legend 3 other than, of course, the carbon fiber sole plate? And the answer to that question is actually the upper. The standard Legend 3 was made from kangaroo leather. The Elite model that I'm holding right here, as you guys can see by the branding, is made from Kanga Light, which is a synthetic material. Obviously, we have seen it. It was launched originally on the CTR 360 Maestri 1. So at the time when Kangalite was featured on this shoe, it was still relatively new, and I think for the most part, it was relatively unknown that this wasn't actually a leather shoe. That's how convincing Kangalite actually is. This is really the only iteration that we've ever seen of Kangalite where they really did make it look like natural leather. If you didn't know any better, if you were just looking at the shoe, even if it didn't have the Kangalite branding on there, you'd have a hard time guessing that this wasn't actually natural kangaroo leather. It certainly isn't as soft. I think I would know personally, and any kind of boot enthusiast who's got any kind of experience with natural leather shoe may not be fooled, but it's very, very convincing, especially in terms of how it looks. They maintained all the same stitching patterns that you would find on a kangaroo leather standard version of the Legend 3, the kind of embedded Nike swoosh there with the perforations, the leather grain finish, and again, it just looks very, very similar to that leather version of the Tiempo Legend 3. As far as touch is concerned, I've personally never worn a pair of these, but what I can tell you is that it does seem a little bit thinner than what you would find from a standard kangaroo leather upper. It's soft, it's flexible, I'm sure it won't stretch quite as much, but again, it's very, very convincing, and if you were looking for a leather-like feel with the benefits of a synthetic material and that it is a little bit lighter, and it obviously doesn't require maintenance, it's not going to stretch, it's going to dry more quickly, there are lots of benefits to synthetic, then something like this would have been a model that would have been appealing to you around the 2010 time period. Actually, the whole reason why the Elite series was kind of made in the first place, at least this is what Nike's marketing suggested, is that they wanted to make a lighter version of all their regular top-end silos. So that's why they incorporated the carbon fiber sole plate. And while there weren't dramatic differences in weight between the regular models and the Elite models, it was still enough to kind of get people excited, especially the carbon fiber look. And that's why I think the Elite series really blew up. I wished it's something that they would bring back. Obviously, you see it from Adidas now with their crazy light and super light models. But I wish Nike would do something like this where they gave us a top-end model, but they also gave us a kind of over-the-top, maybe way too expensive version of their top-end model. Even if you don't have to buy it, I think it's cool just to have out there as an option for people who are really kind of enthusiasts when it comes to soccer shoes and stuff like that. So Kangalite upper, carbon fiber sole plate. It's not the same carbon fiber sole plate that we find on the current Superfly 4. It's a slightly different last, and I don't think it's the same makeup. And then, of course, you do have the Nike Tiempo Legend stud pattern there with the bladed studs in the heel, the conical studs on the lateral medial side of the forefoot, and then the two bladed studs in the middle as well. So not too far off from the current Tiempo Legend stud pattern. Minor differences, but again, nothing that's going to perform too differently. Central lacing system, as I mentioned, the heel liner is all synthetic leather, no suede or anything like that. And of course, the insole is fully removable. I'll give you guys a quick look at that. It features a synthetic leather top layer, obviously a design that matches the rest of the shoe. It's got a little bit of kind of texturing to this detail here, which does help to grip your sock a little bit better, but nothing too significant. It's made from a decent layer of this black foam, and you actually do have the pour-on inserts in the heel, in the forefoot, and in the big toe area. So step-in comfort certainly was not an issue with this particular shoe. But that is it for the kind of tech specs and what you should know about the Tiempo Legend 3 Elite and what it had to offer. And next we're going to move on to a quick weigh-in so you can see how lightweight these things actually are. As far as weight is concerned, I thought it'd be fun to see how light the Legend 3 Elite is versus the modern day Tiempo Legend in the form of the Legend 5. So we're going to weigh both of these side by side so we can see exactly what the differences are, because I think you might be a little bit surprised by the results. Now keep in mind that these are both in brand new condition and both the same size, so this is a very fair comparison. We'll start off with the modern Tiempo Legend 5. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably have tried this boot or at least seen it in person somewhere. You can see that they weigh in at 8.3 ounces, which is kind of surprising for this style of soccer shoe. Features a kangaroo leather upper, a pretty standard looking TPU plastic outsole, but somehow Nike has managed to keep the weight down on this shoe, which is, like I said, below average for this style of soccer shoe. Normally, kangaroo leather uppers, more traditionally styled soccer shoes with a plastic outsole, tend to weigh in somewhere around the 9 to 10 ounce mark, but obviously these are about a full ounce lighter than that at 8.3. So we'll take that off the scale and we'll throw on the Legend 3 Elite. Again, the Elite line was mainly marketed as being lighter than the standard versions of their particular model. And yes, the Legend 3 Elite was lighter than the standard Legend 3, but as you guys can see on the scale, 9.15, almost 9.2 ounces, making the Legend 3 Elite almost a full ounce more than the current Tiempo Legend 5, even though this had the Kangalite synthetic upper and of course the carbon fiber sole plate. The carbon fiber sole plate I think was really misconceived. People view carbon fiber as this ultra premium, ultra lightweight material, and it can be, but the way Nike has implemented it in their sole plates, whether it be in this Elite series or even the current Superfly 4, if you look at that shoe, it's not as light as the Vapor 10, and that's not because of the Flyknit mid-cut design of the shoe. It's actually because carbon fiber, the way Nike has implemented it every single time, has just not been as light as what you can achieve with plastic or some kind of a nylon material. We see it with Adidas's F50 Adizero line, where obviously they have the lightest shoe around right now. Nothing really comes too close. But again, any shoe that Nike has ever put out with carbon fiber has just not been as light as what other companies, even Nike themselves, have achieved using plastics and nylon. So again, while it was a lightweight shoe at the time, it is not as light as the current Legend 5. Alright, so here's a look at the Nike Tiempo Legend 3s on feet. Really good looking shoe, especially in this colorway. The Legend has always had more of an old school look, maybe not so much anymore, but from Legends 1 to 3, they definitely did have more of a traditional style about them. And when you have this burgundy color with the silver accents, it just really has that old school vibe about it that I'm personally a big fan of. Leave your opinions down below in the comments. What do you think was the best looking Legend model? I think the Legend 3 was probably the most unpopular, but as far as this colorway combination is concerned, I'm just a really big fan, especially on that Elite model with that carbon fiber sole plate, as you guys can see. So as far as the fit and overall comfort level of the shoe is concerned, they fit really nicely. They certainly do feel different from the standard Legend 3. The Kangalite upper is soft, it's comfortable against your foot, but I think it is noticeable that this is not a synthetic shoe, more so when the shoes are on your feet rather than when you're holding them in your hand. Yes, they look the part, but as far as the overall flexibility of the Kangalite is concerned, these are of course brand new and I've never really broken in a pair, so I can't tell you if it gets better or worse. I would assume that it does get better, but again, it certainly isn't as soft or as plush as what you would get from a natural kangaroo leather, but of course, this was more or less first generation Kangalite. But again, really amazing how they made it look so convincing with the stitching and finish on the upper. As far as the width of the shoe is concerned, it's going to be suitable for pretty much all foot types. I have about average width feet and these things fit me really easily. So even if you did have wider feet, I would assume that these would fit you quite well. And as far as the sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here. And if you ever do come across a pair that you actually want to wear, or at least have in your size for a collection, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US and the fit is perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair, I'd recommend going true to size for the best possible fit. Alright guys, that's it for my retro review of the Nike Tiempo Legend 3 Elite. I want to apologize to all of you who are big fans of the retro review series on my channel. I apologize for not having these videos more regularly, but that is going to change very soon. In fact, as of right now, I want to have up a retro review up every week or two, I want to say. So if you enjoyed the retro review series, want to continue seeing it happen, be sure to support this video with a like. If you have any questions regarding the Legend 3 Elite, leave a comment down below. I will get an answer out to you. And if you have any suggestions for future retro review videos, leave those suggestions down below in the comment section as well. And of course, I will take those into consideration and try to bring in as many of those shoes as possible. If you're not subscribed already, be sure to hit that subscribe button for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. If you guys by chance want to see more detailed images of this particular Legend 3 Elite that I have right here, check out the review page on my website. There'll be a link to that down below in the description. All my social media information is also down below in the description. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.